I drove for miles, but it felt like I was stuck looping the same curve, endlessly trapped. The fuel gauge didn't drop. The clock didn't move. The radio no longer responded. Tried to remember where I picked him up, but memory pulled away, like fog in reverse. The coat in the passenger seat started drying on its own, without wind or heat. Another truck ahead, same model, same color, same plate. It was mine. I passed it slowly. The driver was Mjolnir, emptier, erased. He looked back, didn't blink, like he'd been waiting for me to pass by again. The road behind me duplicated, like a broken mirror, reflecting parallel realities. I blinked. The other truck vanished, but the mirror showed two sets of headlights. And inside the cabin, the passenger seat creaked. Even though I hadn't picked anyone up, the engine sounded like a hoarse voice, repeating something I couldn't understand. At every curve, someone whispered my name through the static of the radio. The GPS blinked non-stop, like it was trying to map a road that didn't exist anymore. I spoke out loud, asking if anyone was there. The road answered with thunder. Lightning cracked the sky, but no bolts ever fell. Just warning flashes. Rain thickened, but the windshield wiped itself, even with the wipers broken. "You've passed me before," said a voice. It wasn't in the truck. It came from the road. I floored the gas, but the truck didn't speed up, just kept moving in place. And the passenger seat now had a deep imprint, as if someone had returned to it. I wasn't being watched anymore. I was being transported by something that knew the way. I stopped at a dead gas station. No lights, no signs of life, just stillness in the air. Inside the bathroom mirror, my face sparkled with tiny lights like distant stars. I touched my skin. Nothing there, but my reflection stared back out of the sink. Faucets dry, yet the sound of dripping echoed like a slow heartbeat. Outside, a car with no plates. Inside, a note, returned with the seat empty. Ran back to the truck. The radio played a recording of my voice. It was a moment I offered the man a ride, but I had no memory of recording it. Now the passenger seat was stained with dried blood, and I was still alone. Checked the back seat. A shadow darted across too fast to be human. I shut the door, and for the first time, I heard breathing. Right behind me, fog returned, but this time it felt alive, shaping gestures, almost forming words. I drove slowly. In every mirror, shadows moved, just barely visible at the edges. At each turn, I saw images I hadn't lived: funerals, hospital beds, distant crashes. The road tested me, choosing which version of me it would allow to leave. The mist seeped into the cabin, cold, dense, smelling of wet soil and burned oil. The radio hissed like a prayer, whispered in an ancient language I almost understood. My name appeared on the dash, flickering between alien symbols and broken code. Breathing behind me steady, close, but when I turned, the seat was empty again. I honked. No sound came out, like the truck had forgotten how to scream. That's when I knew I wasn't being followed. I was being carried out. No name, no markers, no lines. Just a wet trail through dead trees and metal-colored mud. Headlights were swallowed by a darkness that refused to obey the laws of light. Another truck approached, same route, opposite direction. Transparent driver. He passed through me like mist, gone in the mirror before he reached the bend. The passenger seat was soaked again, but the rain never touched the truck. I touched the seat. A voice whispered, "It's almost time." No one was there. Tried braking. The pedals sank like wet sponge, no resistance. The dash glowed with symbols, circles, triangles, open eyes. Lights in the sky returned, now red, forming a perfect triangle above the road. The seat sank deeper, like the passenger had returned without form. I tried to scream. No sound came, no pain. My throat felt detached, disconnected. Radio clicked. On. You picked up someone you shouldn't have, said a machine voice. Who was he? I asked. But it just repeated. You picked up someone you shouldn't have. The cabin dimmed not from clouds, but as if the air itself had closed its eyes. The seat shifted slowly, like someone changing posture next to me. In the side mirror, a hand rested on the door. Long fingers, wrong shape. When I looked directly gone, only prints remained in the window dust. Turned onto a dirt path the only way out. The trees parted, opening the way. I didn't know where it led, but the road seemed to know where I belonged. The voice in the radio kept fading. You picked up, you picked up, you picked. The new road was too smooth, too perfect, like a hallway made by something not human. The trees were leafless, stones shaped like tools, as if sculpted by sleepless hands. Even the tires made no sound. The entire world was on mute. Above, lights hovered fixed like verdicts waiting to be read. Seatbelt fastened in the passenger's side. But I hadn't driven with anyone since the stop. In the mirror, 2 cabins, 2 trucks, tombs. I blinked. One disappeared. But now, I wasn't sure which version remained. Touched the wheel, cold like another hand had just let go of it seconds before. The road narrowed to a vanishing point, where things would end, or begin again. Then the passenger spoke, but not with words. He spoke through memory. I stopped the truck at the roads, and a tunnel of light stood ahead, glowing white. Radio went silent. Dashboard blacked out. Passenger door opened without sound. I looked around. No creature, no shadow, just presence. Heavy, invisible. If you go in, you won't come back. Something said inside my mind. I breathed deep, tried to remember, but the memories melted and merged. Entered the tunnel. Light on all sides, no shadows, no surface. On the passenger seat, the code vanished. In its place, a key with my name on it. The tunnel pulsed not with sound, but with thought. I passed through. I don't know for how long. Maybe I'm still inside it. Maybe this path is just the start of a road no one remembers building. I woke on the shoulder. Truck off. Sky clear. But something wasn't right. Everything around me looked normal, like someone tried to fake reality. Opened the door. Outside too quiet, no wind, no birds, no time. Walked into a roadside store. The clerk looked up. You're early this time, she said, confused. I asked if she knew me. She smiled. You always come back, one way or another. In the bathroom mirror, he was behind me, the passenger, just watching. I turned hard. Nothing, but the truck seat was sunken again. In my wallet, a new card. Thanks for driving. Next delivery, tomorrow. Looked up. The lights were farther away now, but still there. And something inside whispered, you haven't woken up yet. The sun finally rose. But it felt wrong, like it arrived too soon. Or not at all. The road looked new. Fresh asphalt. Green trees. But everything smelled empty. Other truckers passed me, same rig. Same clothes. Same face, mine. I honked. They all honked back, same rhythm. Same moment. The radio switched on. A recording. If you see someone on the road, don't stop. Mirror showed the seat empty. But in the side glass, someone sat beside me. It was him, the passenger. But now, he smiled with my teeth. I slammed the brakes. Too late. The road had already chosen my next stop. I looked up. No lights in the sky, but their reflection burned behind my eyes. And that's when I knew I was the passenger who vanished before sunrise. Some roads cut through forests, others through fate, and some through the unexplainable. That night, I stopped out of pity. A man was hitchhiking in the middle of nowhere. That was it. But ever since he entered the cabin, time glitched. The radio failed. Even my memory cracked. I've been a trucker for years. I've seen everything, but nothing prepared me for what came next. The sun rose. The passenger seat was empty, but the door was still locked from the inside. If you've seen something no one would ever believe, leave a comment. Your story might be next. Rain slammed the windshield like it was trying to stop me from crossing that deserted road. I've been driving for hours, no GPS, no signal, just tires humming and the weak engine purring. A shadow by the road. I stopped. A man in a dark coat raised his thumb in silence. I opened the door. He entered without a word. Just looked at me, eyes too old for his face. "Where to?" I asked. "Until morning," he said, and closed his eyes without emotion. I kept driving, but something wasn't right. The air felt heavier inside the cabin. I glanced over. He sat still, hands resting, like he was waiting for something. The radio hissed loudly, then went silent. A silence that screamed inside my head. Every minute stretched longer. The clock froze at 3:17 a.m. and stayed there. The road faded into fog, but the passenger seemed to know exactly where we were going. The second hand didn't move, but the truck kept rolling like time no longer mattered. "Haven't hitched a ride in a long time," he said, still eyes closed. Cold voice. "You from around here?" I asked. "I come from far," he answered, and said nothing more. Fog grew thicker. The road looped, repeating the same poles, the same cracks. The air turned icy, even with the heat on full blast. Something was wrong. I glanced at the rear view. For 1 second, no one in the seat. No him. Just empty space. I blinked. He was there again, but somehow closer to me than before. I tightened my grip on the wheel. My spine crawled. Something about him felt broken. His reflection in the mirror lagged. He moved, but it reacted seconds later. The radio hissed again. This time, it whispered my name, but I hadn't spoken a word. Tried my phone. Black screen. No time. No service. Not even my lock screen photo was there. The road signs vanished. No town names, no mile markers. Just endless black. Dashboard lights flickered. Cabin lights stuttered like dying stars. The passenger turned his head slowly. "You've been here before," he said. "Impossible," I replied. "I've never taken this route." He smiled and looked forward again. Lights appeared in the sky behind the fog. 3 bright points. Watching. Waiting. The road felt alive, cracking, shifting, reshaping beneath the tires. It felt like we were passing through something that shouldn't exist. Held my breath. The cabin smelled like rust and wet forest. I looked again. He was still smiling, but he no longer looked like the same man that my hands sweated on the wheel. Cold air, but my body reacted like I was trapped in a nightmare. The passenger didn't blink, didn't speak, just rain, and that silence that screamed. Everything outside froze, except the truck, like it was driving both of us by its own will. I thought of stopping and kicking him out, but something told me it was already too late. "How many have you brought here?" he asked, staring directly into my eyes. "What do you mean?" I shouted, but he just smiled. That smile chilled me to the bone. Fog turned into darkness. The headlights barely reached 2 meters. The radio crackled louder, voices underwater, speaking straight into my spine. Up ahead, I saw my own silhouette walking the road. I blinked. Gone. Sometimes, you're the passenger, he said, then closed his eyes again. I stopped the truck. Couldn't go on. The road felt like it was ready to swallow me whole. Got out, breathed in deep, but the air was heavier than earth, like a sealed tomb. Looked through the window. The passenger was watching me from inside. But the reflection on the glass wasn't his. It was mine with empty, black eyes. I climbed back in. He looked over. You saw it. Not every reflection is yours, he said. Tried reversing. No use. The rear view only showed road stretching forward. Turned. The wheel. Nothing happened. The road was locked. A rail I couldn't leave. What do you want? I yelled. He pointed ahead. The answer comes before the light. What light? I asked. But he no longer looked at me. Only at the horizon. And for the first time, I felt like we were carrying more than just two souls. The cabin vibrated with a sound that wasn't from the radio or the engine. It was inside me, a humming like a distant tune buried inside my skull, alive and crawling. The passenger tapped his foot to the rhythm, as if he heard music I couldn't. The dashboard clock read 3:17 again, exactly like when the trip started. Flashes on the roadside, my childhood, a hospital, moments I couldn't remember living. I tried to speak. My mouth moved, but the sound came with delay, out of sync. He pressed his hand to the window. It melted slightly, then reformed. You've been here before, he said again. Every trucker does sooner or later. Lights in the sky returned larger now, turning slowly above the road. Morning's almost here, he said. But his voice came from somewhere else. The road looked like metal now. Asphalt melted into something molded and wrong. The truck drove itself, no brakes, no steering. I was just along for the ride. The radio repeated my name. Each voice sounded like me, young, old, distorted. The passenger grinned with closed eyes, like he was waiting for something final. Tried opening the door. Locked. Windows fogged from the inside. No air, no time. Shapes moved outside. Dark figures with no outline, just motion, like shadows pretending. This is where the forgotten stay, he whispered. Here. No one remembers your name. Dashboard flickered, then died. Only the sky's glow lit the cabin. My body tingled, like I was slowly being turned off. I closed my eyes, breathed deep, but the air no longer recognized me. I woke with my head against the wheel, still raining. The clock, 3:17 again. Looked over, passenger seat empty, but the door was still locked from the inside. Touched the seat, still warm, like someone had just left, but no footprints. No door open, radio off, engine dead. But the truck felt like it was breathing. Got out. Same road. But the sky dark blue, stained, not quite right. Everything felt familiar, but off like a dream badly reconstructed. On the ground, my wallet, but the photo inside. Eyes closed, same face, rushed back in. Something in the seat froze me. A handwritten note. Thanks for the ride. The next soul is already on its way. Turned around, and the passenger door opened. No one was there. Passenger seat was sunken, like someone was still sitting there, just invisible. Mirror showed two reflections, but only one person. Just me or not. The road returned to normal. Signs, turns, lights. But it felt staged, too clean, like someone built a world just convincing enough to fool me into relaxing. It starts over like this. said a voice on the radio, quiet but identical to mine. I hit the gas. The truck responded, but the mirror showed a different driver. Every honk echoed like we were driving through something hollow and unreal. On my hand, a red, circular mark. Fresh, still warm. Tried wiping it off. Skin didn't react. Like plastic glued over raw nerve. The road returned me, but what came back might not be exactly me. The sky began to brighten, but the light looked afraid, like dawn didn't want to arrive. Radio, silent. Only soft rain and tires humming on wet asphalt. A gas station up ahead. I stopped. Got out. People inside stood frozen, statue still. In the bathroom mirror, my face blinked, light still lagging behind my motion, and no tape to the glass read, "You were the passenger. Now drive for the next." Return to the truck. Passenger seat, a wet coat, freshly dropped. But I was still alone. Engine started. Road opened before me like it had been waiting. Looked in the mirror to reflections, but only one shadow. Rain stopped. Sky brightened, but inside, it was still 3:17, and the next curve was already waiting for me.